Good morning and welcome everybody. Welcome to a fantastic morning here at Djuma Game Reserve, where we have some lion already to start our day. I was hoping he was going to do something other than flop down and fall asleep, but maybe there's still time for that. My name is Mark. Andrew's on camera with me, with Brian back in our control room. Hope you're going to join us for the next 3 hours as we explore this little region of the Sabi Sands, part of the Greater Kruger National Park, on a somewhat cloudy and drizzly morning. Well, it is new moon and here's the weather that it brought. The rain that there was a few minutes ago that was starting to make us a little worried has moved off to the north, but I think there might be another wave of it coming, so we might need to go under shelter in a little while for the time being. This is our honeymoon couple that we've got at the moment. We found them for the first time yesterday here on Djuma. Don't know how long they've been mating for, but today will be the second day that they're together. The rest of the pride haven't moved much overnight. They're still where they were yesterday, or have gone back to where they were yesterday. And I think what we'll do is we're going to go and have a look for the rest of the pride shortly and see what they're up to. I just want to give these two a little while. They might get at it, as it were, because mating does take place. Morning, everybody. It's sorry, just saying hello to some of the guests from the lodge. Going across the dam to see the lion. Mating can take place over several days, actually. And usually he'll cover her every 20 or 30 minutes. And first question coming in from New Jersey. Morning, Marco. And Marco's noticing there are no hippo here today. Could the lion have chased them away? No, I don't think so, Marco. I think it's just that there are no hippo here today. I don't think hippo are too concerned, although lion in some places are known to attack hippo. Not easy for them to bring them down, so it usually takes a pride. But a hippo would be fine in the water. In fact, a hippo, under the circumstances, would probably be intimidating them, would that there were hippo here. Might prevent hippo from coming out of the water. It might intimidate them to that much. But also, I think that a hippo would probably charge the lion and try and chase them off. What is interesting is that it's normally a wallow spot. There are normally at least one or two, if not more, buffalo that are likely to come here during the day. Today, being a bit overcast, might not be necessary. So the one day when there are lion here, I suppose the buffalo are lucky in that they don't need to come and wallow early. Not going to be too hot. I'm going to see what this hamakop is doing. There's a hamakop, but he just suddenly stopped. Came walking around the edge of the dam and suddenly noticed that his frogging escapades are going to have to take a little turn in the other direction. How much closer do you think you can get, hamakop? Both the cats watching the hamakop. They weren't even looking at him. Hamakop decided he'll go and catch frogs somewhere else. They are watching something back there. I did see some of the baboons waking up. They must have been sleeping around camp last night. This troop of baboons. But whatever they can see, I can't see. But quite clearly the two of them are looking at something. You see that if we go back left a little bit, sorry, I don't know if you were looking at it, but there's on the left bank here, that dead tree that's sticking out on the left hand bank. Not that one. That one, this known as the Stichosaurus. Ah, and there's the monster just jumping off of the Stichosaurus, almost as though it's just been seen. And it swam off. It's a monitor lizard. This unfortunately can't get closer than this, or maybe he's going to climb up again. It's just slid off of the log. Maybe we'll try and get a bit closer later. He's looking at the sky, looking at the clouds. I suppose he's also thinking about the cloud and the rain and the cooler weather. What does a lion think about when it looks at the sky? Okay, let's go find the pride, and then we can think about our next move. Continue the quest for those elusive canines, canids. See you later, cats. We're going to find your friends and family. use diff lock. Yeah, using diff lock. Do it this way. I think the rest of them are here somewhere, close to where they were yesterday, I think. One of the guys was saying. There's an interesting question. Who determines when mate will end? The male or the female? Morning, Sarah, California. Her estrus period lasts a lot longer than he can. They did see the pride. I was just looking for a different way to get in to view them, but that doesn't look like there is. They're back amongst the quarry, in the quarry thicket, and doing what cats do best, napping. No, they're conserving energy. Waiting for the next opportunity to go hunt something. So where should we go in? Here or here? Maybe here. It's going ting ting ting. I don't know what that could be. Maybe it's a spanner somewhere. A little bell. I don't know if anyone can hear that. Morning, children. Gonna push a cat. I suppose wise in that they are relatively well hidden and they'd be able to hear anything walking by. There's quite a main pathway, or a couple of pathways coming past us here, one being a hippo path, which of course is used by many other animals as well, or going to the water. And while they might not be while they might not be planning anything, they'll certainly go into a hunt if something were to come along. But they're in a good position to get something. But I don't think we're going to sit here for long, because we know where they are. we can go and find some. We're going to go and look for signs of other things, other lovely painted wolves, painted dogs. Casey in New York has an interesting question too, regarding this recent incident where a lioness was killed by a lion. I think it was the Birmingham boys. It looks like it was one of these lionesses, one of this pride that was killed. Casey wants to know if it's normal behavior. Is it hunger, or what is it that drives them to do something like that? I suppose in some ways one can say it's normal within lion society for there to be enough competition amongst individuals or amongst prides that it does happen. When we look at the whole food chain triangle with lion right up at the top of the food chain, apex predator, there is not much other than things like hyena or leopard that might kill lion cubs if they came across them, and then I suppose natural attrition through cubs dying of illnesses or snake bites or other things. But generally lion are the only things that control their own populations, and it's the competition between lion that results in lion killing lion. So it is something that happens, whether one can attribute it to normal lion behavior. I don't know if you could call it that. And then of course there's the other aspect of the thing, whether or not they actually feed on the carcass, and that to some extent doesn't really have anything to do with hunger as such, as much as it is an act of making sure your opponent, your enemy, is vanquished. Could be that what they were doing is they might have been watching one of the staff members up at the lodge, one of the people working around the deck on the lodge, or is it the swimming pool, wearing a light coloured shirt, and the movement is quite easily noticeable. But certainly not hunger that drives them to kill other lion. And to some extent, as I say, to some part of that is hunger when they eat the lion. The other part of it is just getting rid of evidence, sort of. Interesting that she got up, she's moving away, and yeah, I was waiting for that, because usually when they're mating, he won't let her get more than a few steps away from him before he follows. So possible that it's coming to an end, maybe. Don't know, it seems to be they might have only started. We did see 8 of them the other day without the 2 Matimbas, and then the Matimbas arrived and now they're mating, so my guess is that they only really started yesterday. Andrew, come in. Morning, Andrew. The rest of the slumby is where they were yesterday, south of the dam wall. And my daughter and my father have got up and they've gone alapanzi in the grass. Okay, copied. Those other Tungala, I don't know if you'll see them, but they're just above that eroded section on the northern side of the dam. Okay, let's go find some tracks, or some cats, or some dogs, or some tall necked giraffe, or something else. Bye. Cats. See, what we got to do is we got to go up to the boundary. Why does it take so long for Lion to successfully make Joe in New York? Well, it's not so much successful or success that is the end result. But sometimes Lion can mate for 3 days and she might still not get pregnant, and that might be because there's a false pregnancy, or it could be because she's infertile, or it could be because she's infertile, or it could be because most of the time he was covering her, there wasn't proper penetration. Sometimes the act itself isn't necessarily successful in its own right. But also, I think it's because of multiple eggs need multiple matings to be able to be fertilized. One of the interesting things is that shortly after copulation she lies on her back, and that I'm led to believe that aids in fertilization. But only one egg will be fertilized. Oh, no. Most cats are like that. Most cats spit. Pregnancy takes. Looks like we might be getting a little bit of spitting weather again. Get wet. Maybe we shouldn't be going too far away. I'm just thinking it's starting to get grey, it's starting to get a bit overcast. Okay, so what we'll do is we're going to make a loop around past the lodge. Get back onto the other side of the dam. But if we need to, we'll go to quarantine, we'll go to the open area to where our little shelter is, and we'll just chat from there until the rain stops. But it's starting to drizzle now. in Wisconsin. Wondering if male lion, as with domestic cats, have a barbed penis that results in growling, the behavior of the cats after copulation. Jerry, quite so. In fact, that's very important in all cats. That barb, I guess you could call it, with a barb. When a cat withdraws after copulation, it actually causes quite a bit of pain. I guess I don't quite know the exact process, but it is a process that is necessary for ovulation. The female cat won't ovulate without it. It's called induced ovulation. I suppose one of the reasons why maybe it's required that they mate so many times. But all cats are like that, and all cats pretty much mate in the same way. Hyena. Look, hyena. Look, hyena in the drizzle. What are you watching? Crocata, crocata. Big tick on its neck. Come here, I'll take the tick off your neck. Smelling something here at the lodge. We're right in front of Gallagher Camp, actually. There's a little opening that they've made just in front of the camp with a little water hole. We watched the lion drinking here the other night. And it's getting wet. My camera's getting wet. Should I put the cover on? Not yet, I don't think it's... Oh, that'll make a noise if you put that over it. Okay, well, we're just going to have to move, unfortunately. Have to get to our shelter because it's starting to come down quite hard now. Maybe you better put the cover on it, Andrew, now that I think of it, because it's wet. And you know what, I put my hat on before I even knew we were going to have rain. My old hat, my rain hat. I just knew we were having weather because it's new moon. And new moon and full moon bring weather. Well, you know what rain means, folks. It means that we got some things. It means we got questions and answers to do today. So, have a chat session for a while. It looks like it's closing in pretty heavily. Heavily. Very heavily. Get to the lens soon. Although most most likely by the time we get under cover the splitting will stop. This kind of weather, it comes in waves. It's looking pretty closed in right now. I'm listening to talk of some leopard tracks of a big leopard that's close by, somewhere close by. It's evidently coming up north from Twin Dams, and then sounds like he might be somewhere just east of Treehouse Dam, Elephant Skull Road. And if it stops raining, we can continue in that direction. No one has picked up tracks. There have been, since both lodges here at Djuma are busy, both Texan and Aubrey are out on drive. We've got Andrew driving around from Cheetah Plains. I can hear the guys from Arathusa are out. And so far, no one has found any dog tracks. Ooh, it's cold and it's wet. We'll wipe the lens as soon as we get there, and we're almost there now. I can see through my glasses pretty much what you can see through the camera. And well, weather will be weather. Whether or not there is weather is another thing to think about, and how it is brought about by the moon. Happy New Year, China. Here are the goats. Looks like we've got a little bit of straightening up to do. Haven't been here for a while. Wow, we've had overcast. Gee, it's really wet across the drainage line. I think it's Andrew's first time here. Second time. Oh, with Tara. Yeah. That heavy rain. No, it's fine. We here. We might as well carry on. I'm gonna try and wipe my eyes. We'll get the lens. Jason kept it for a while too. I hope it takes the water off. Pretty closed in right now. Looking out across Djuma, you'll see as soon as we can, as soon as we're done with the lens, you can see how. Like a little chamois. Yeah. This actually got a little bit too wet. I had some tissue paper here, but I don't know where it is. For a couple of days now I've actually been meaning to do a show and tell type of thing, and I think it's the perfect time to do it. And this is only a small specimen I've brought. And when we're done, when we finish looking at the rain, we're going to look at some things that I brought. Well, I'm going to do one a day, but it's going to be hard to find. Well, I'm just going to be, hopefully you'll hear me. I'm going to go and straighten up some of these guy ropes. ground a lot harder than it used to. No, it's not going to work. It's going to have to do. Okay, that'll be fine. So, a while ago I got asked about rhinoceros beetles. And this is a little baby. Well, it's not really a baby, it's actually an adult. But it is a species of rhinoceros beetle, which is also a species of dung beetle. It's a scarab. I've got some other specimens that I'll bring along on another day. Of course, it's a dead rhinoceros beetle, what we call the exoskeleton. You show everybody the rain across there. Just a soft drizzle, but it's really closed in. If you maybe can zoom in on the... Unfortunately the cover is a little bit loose, so, and as it gets wetter and wetter it gets a bit heavier, but that's looking across on that ridge. That far ridge is where Cheetah Cutline is, and it's getting rather closed in here. So we're going to sit and see what we can talk about for a while, and if it stays like this we're going to just have to call it a day. I'll have to just get an update later. I think if you look at the estrus period is a lot longer than the period of time that a male can keep up the mating process. He can keep it up for maybe 3 or 4 days at the most, I think, and an estrus period can last longer than a week. So I think at some point, yes, perhaps she gets a little bit tired, a little bit sore, and she calls an end to it. And I guess sometimes it could be that the male just stops. I don't think that there's any specific set of rules as to what signifies the end of the mating period for lion. I guess it's very difficult to see. You know, I've seen the lion mating so many times in my lifetime, but I've never been able to be sure that when I leave lion mating that is the last time, and I don't ever get to see that moment. You know, you have to stay with them throughout the entire period of mating and estrus. And then you would have to do that with several different lion over several different pregnancies and different, because maybe what happens once with one pair of lion might not happen again the next time they mate. So being something that doesn't, in my opinion, doesn't have a very set set of circumstances or a very particular thing that happens. I don't know how to quite articulate that. Generally, I think it's just the males eventually start tiring of it, and she starts getting a little bit irritated with them. And it'd be, I suppose, an interesting study. I must maybe find out from people like Craig Packer, or a friend of mine who did his PhD on lion in Tanzania, Goran in Sweden. People who might have witnessed this time and time again, that they could say. But I personally, as many times as I've seen lion mating, I can never say when it was the moment that the mating finished and what that behavior was at the time. Nice question though, something to think about, something to maybe ponder the next time we're with them and we maybe are witnessing the end of that mating period. Starting to lift a little bit by the looks of things, starting to get a bit lighter again in the south. Kelly, morning Kelly, somewhere in the USA. Moving to elephant stories now. Kelly wants to know if when elephants die, do they go off on their own or do they die within the herd environment with the care and nurturing of the herd? I think a little bit of both, Kelly. I think when elephants die, it just happens. I don't think I guess there is some notion that they are on their way out, that there's something happening. I mean, we're talking about dying of old age. It doesn't really happen that they die of old age, that they become so. I think what happens first is that they start deteriorating, their body starts deteriorating because their teeth get worn down, and when the teeth get worn down, especially their last set of teeth, of course, and they can no longer eat the kind of varied diet that is required to maintain their digestive system. I think it's not necessarily old age, but still it's when they're in their older years. Some of them might be young enough to still be quite active, but they if they can't eat properly, they lose condition quickly and they can die fairly quickly. I think you find that bulls, because their teeth when their teeth wear down, they're left to feed on mostly grasses and things. I've never really even seen an elephant or a carcass that has died of old age, to be honest. I've never seen an elephant die. So from that point of view, it's a very difficult question to answer. And since there are thousands of elephants, I think you'll find that thousands of elephants will do many different things. Some elephants might just die with the herd that they're with. If it's bulls and they're with the bull society, I'm sure there is also a lot of concern and there is a lot of fussing about from the other elephants when there is an elephant dying. And certainly within the herd environment with the matriarch, if a matriarch is dying, the daughters and the rest of the elephants will most likely gather around her, maybe try and lift her up and prod her. There's definitely going to be a lot of concern. Maybe with bulls they sort of be off on their own when they die, but I think most likely with the females they're not going to be on their own. They'll always be with the herd, and the herd will always be rallying around them when there's stressful conditions or stressful circumstances. And I think it's time now to go and continue our drive. The rain has moved on until the next one. There is another one coming. I think maybe we'll just wait 2 minutes. There's, looking south, there's still some more coming in. Closing in quickly, actually. You're finding the difficult questions today, folks. Joy in Missouri. If a mating pair of lion, would they pause to eat or hunt if something came by, or would they just carry on mating? It depends. I think, once again, I think that you might find different lion might behave differently. I think most of the time they're likely to, I don't know, Joyce, I really don't know. I've seen lion that are mating and the pride is close by. When the pride kills, then they will come and feed, but then they will also mate while they'll feed and then mate, and they'll be part of the kill. I think sometimes they might be so intent on the mating process they might ignore their hunting opportunities, but they do have to eat, let's face it, at some point. And if the pride is nearby and the pride kills something, I'm sure they'll give it a break to go and eat. It's a behavior thing. It's something that, once again, one thing doesn't trigger a predictable response. We could have 5 mating lions in 5 different places doing 5 different things if prey came along. I don't think, once again, being something that is such a random crossing of paths, such a random thing, that there is a set rule for how or what lion will do under a certain circumstance, and that is one of those things, is that some lion might be mating, they might actually go straight into hunt mode and hunt. I don't know. I think some lion might just carry on mating and ignore the life that is around them for that time. I think it depends on how intense the mating is, and I don't know. Something with one of those things that the only way to find out an answer like that is to observe lion and to be in their company for long enough while they're mating, and to be in their company when there is something coming by, to see what they will do. And because we might witness it with one pair of lion and maybe something coming along, we can't say that that's what all lion will do or that's what they will do every time something like that happens. It's always different. Every time it's always different. Wonderful questions, because it makes one think when you are watching these things. It starts opening up the mind to what could be possible, and the fact that you ask these questions about what I think will happen under different circumstances means that you are thinking about it. But it makes me think about it next time I'm watching lion, to try and think about whether it is the last time they'll be mating and who initiates the last time, or what happens at the end of it when they are finished, and what happens when they're mating, and should something come along, what are they likely to do. I've never really considered those things, because I just kind of, I guess, take it all for granted that it's all unknown, and the only way to know it would be to observe it. And then, because you observe it once, you learn that it doesn't necessarily mean that that's how it is every time something like that happens. And that's what animal behavior is about. It's when you're watching things and the interactions between things, knowing that it's all mostly a one-off thing, that it's not necessarily rather the way things happen all the time, because behavior is such a random thing. Well, it's coming in again. We're going to sit here for a little while longer, looking very light further south behind all this drizzle, so it's possible that we'll be out there within half an hour or so, maybe less. Kathy wants to know the gestation period is about 3 months, Kathy. 90 days. 90 to 100, I think. 100 days. Let's just check on that. What Jonathan says. Questions at WildEarthTV. I was starting to think that, you know, there are a lot of people that have said in the past that they have asked questions and they don't get to the questions, or we don't get to their questions. But I've also noticed, when we're actually talking about it, I've also noticed that there is a lot of Twitter sometimes moves so fast, and when whoever is in final control, who is passing on questions and also dealing with the stream and dealing with all the other technical things that are happening in final control, that sometimes so many tweets are made that it's difficult to scroll back and to get questions that might have flown by on through the tweet feed, through the Twitter feed at #SafariLive. And I think if you don't get your question answered on Twitter and you still want the question, because we really love questions. I mean, it's what makes our whole broadcast worthwhile, in that this is not just a show to watch, this is a show to interact with. This is something that we can do, and it's this very thing that we're doing now that makes it really what it is. So it's great having questions, and it's great getting into discussions and things, but sometimes if something is missed, please just send it through on an email. You don't even have to write the email, just put the question in the subject line and let us know who it is, where you're from. It's always nice to know where you come from, what your hometown is, or even just your state. And it also, we don't have to know your name. It can be anonymous. You can use a nom de plume. You can an alias or something else. "100 days." Jonathan says, around 100 days. Similar to leopard. Well, the rain is over there on the other side of the drainage line. I don't know how much there is on this side, although looking towards Treehouse. Cindy. Oh, Cindy in Tennessee. Do elephants or other animals mourn the death of another member of their herd or pack? I think most definitely. Well, certainly with elephants. We know that elephants do. We've seen how elephants behave after the death of a loved one. Even years afterwards, and they still caress the bones, and they carry bones. They'll come back to the carcass and move the skull around and carry some of the bones away. That's why you don't find a lot of bones together. I think to what level depends on the species. I think also to ensure the way nature works is, or I would imagine that the way nature works is that they have to at some point move on. And I know that with baboon, for example, sometimes that maternal bond or the act of becoming a mother is such an important aspect of baboon life that they can't come to terms with the death of their young. And very often over the decades that I've been witnessing wildlife or watching wildlife, I've been witness to baboon with dead babies, and they'll carry that carcass around. They'll carry that like a rag doll until it virtually falls apart. Sometimes for weeks, 2 weeks even, where she'll hold on to that child. We saw when that calf was taken by the lion, that wildebeest calf, we saw how distressed the mother was here on quarantine, how she was running up and down. Yesterday there was another wildebeest, yesterday afternoon on drive, a wildebeest that I'm sure was pretty close to that wildebeest that was killed, was doing the same thing. She was clearly stressed about losing the other wildebeest. We noticed Karula, when she lost her cub, was quite distressed. I think what we know as mourning and the way we mourn and the way our emotional response isn't unique. It can't possibly be. We all got the same parts to our bodies. Animals have hearts that pump blood. They have brains and souls and emotional reactions to things. So they do feel it. But how they mourn and what they feel is up for speculation. We can only guess. I think a lot of people will know, a lot of people who have domestic animals, dogs or cats, and I think particularly with dogs, dogs who have lived together for a long time, when one dog passes on, you know how the other dog will mourn, but you also know as well how, especially with dogs, and how they might feel they fit into the family, they become part of the pack, that if a human dies, how a dog feels about that. So you see, we don't really have a monopoly on emotion or emotional pain. Animals feel things too. Here comes the sun, little darling. Here comes the sun, and I say, let's go for a drive. Let's chance it. And we'll continue with our questions as we're driving and looking for things. Goodbye, little house on the prairie. Glad we didn't take you down just yet. Hardly call it rain, it's just really spitting drizzle, and it's nice and clear. Still more coming though. Look how dark it is, where it's all gone. It's all been moving north. It's quite dark, but that's all moving away, away. Come back another. That's what Andrew said this morning. Come back another time. Well, we need it. Yes. Where in Africa is the largest concentration of lion, Sandy? In Indiana? Where in Africa is the largest concentration of lion? I would say maybe Ruaha National Park is one of them. The Sulu Game Reserve has a good population. In Ruaha, on a day's drive, in a morning drive, you can drive through 3 or 4. If you do a day drive, you can drive through 5 or 6 different prides of lion. Yeah, we're lucky to see one. But here we don't have quite the size of the area one can move in. I suppose Serengeti probably got a fairly good population. Serengeti and the Masai Mara, all one place, just 2 different names because it spans 2 countries, Tanzania and Kenya. Not Kenya and Tanzania, but Tanzania. A lot of us South Africans pronounce it Tanzania. Which is so wrong, since they're practically neighbours. We can't even pronounce it properly. Good morning, Africa. Pretty. Morning, little dove, little emerald dove. need to know the name, Brian. Can you spell the name for me, please? It didn't quite come through. Mouse purr. Saying thanks for the rhino beetle. Ooh. Oh, interesting. Why would there be lion tracks coming down here? Just want to look at the radio. Maybe it's just one of the cats from the pride. Interesting that there's lion. So these must have been from the Birmingham males. These tracks, because they're not from the pride. I'm just listening to the radio. These tracks that we with here heading south from Philemon's Dip go all the way onto Little Gowrie. So Mouse Purr was saying thanks for the rhino beetle. The rhino beetle is one of the little five. You know, we have the big five: lion, leopard, buffalo, elephant, and rhino. So the little five, the rhinoceros beetle. Nasco wants to know if we can sometimes see the rest of the little five. The other four of the little five, there is the elephant shrew, which is going to be a very difficult one to find for you. The leopard tortoise on a day like today should be possible. The buffalo weaver, well, there's certainly enough of them back there towards the dam. We can see one of them easily. And the other one is the antlion. I'll find you an antlion. Probably easier now right this time of the year to find an antlion that is still in larval stage rather than an adult. Pop into the hyena den quickly while we're here. I think so. That's a good idea. Since the weather is the way that it is, might be. Oh no, come on. You're supposed to give me sunshine now. Please just. It's going to rain again. It's starting to rain again. And I wanted to go Rebecca's Road. Like a deja vu moment. As soon as we see a hyena, it will start raining again. Deja vu all over again. Maybe they are inside because of the rain. Nobody home. Well, if they're home, they're inside. Nobody hanging out on the front porch. Nobody hanging out in the side garden. And they've been here, in fact, in the last few minutes, but I'll look at the tracks, because the tracks are quite clearly in this little bit of wet weather, wet sand, damp sand, I suppose. Nobody in the back garden, so, well, later then. Sleep well, hyena. Janet in Baltimore. Janet, I'm afraid you're going to have to send me a picture. Wants to know if we get a plant called the resurrection plant. I don't know what that is. I don't think so. I'm not sure. Well, I say I don't think so is because I haven't heard of it, but that's because it might be called something else here. Once again, when we're talking about plants, it's easier to compare scientific names of things, because what was called one thing in one country can be called something else in another. I think we learned it the other day with that African daisy. But it's interesting. I'd like to know a bit more about a resurrection plant, actually, because the name intrigues me now. Dude, Rebecca's Road for a change. Not whistling. We didn't see a hyena that's not whistling. Morning, Linda. Linda's reminding me that I haven't done a flower for the ladies. They're wanting to know if the flowers are mostly all gone to seeds and what flowers are to come, perhaps. Hi, Kevin. Hi to you, Linda. Texas today. Okay, we'll find a flower. Most of the flowers have faded because we haven't had much rain for a while, Linda, and so a lot of the flowers, a lot of the plants haven't flowered, or their flowers are closed. The leopard orchids, we're actually going to, since we're on Rebecca's Road, we're going to go past this little orchid now, and the orchid we used to go past. There's this flower again. I must look it up again. This is still in flower, and now I looked it up the other day and now I've forgotten it again. But it almost looks like an orchid, but it isn't. I'll find it. The gardenias won't be flowering again. They only really flower in the early part of the season after the first rains. You can actually see this has gone to seed for lower down the spike. There's a seed pod here. Orchids, although there was an orchid that I saw that was in flower close to home, well, near the gate of the Timbavati, I think it was mostly unusual that it was flowering, because orchids should have flowered a long time ago, months ago. Beautiful light now because we've got this dark sky. The sun's coming out behind us. The sky's starting to lighten up for us. And we've got that dark cloud that's just moved off to the north and the northwest. It really makes beautiful light. So here is the old, so we just come past the new orchid. This is the new orchid up here. I hope it lasts a while, but unfortunately this knobthorn that it's in is, its bark is starting to peel off and the orchid is living on the bark, but it'll probably get its roots into the dead part of the tree. It's not a very old orchid, it's younger than about, I'd say, less than 4 years old because it wasn't here 4 years ago. The orchid that we used to see here was on the next tree. And the last time we actually had a look at it, we looked at it from the other side and there was grass, but most of it had died and there was grass growing in it. But I have noticed subsequently that it is still alive, and it's just barely alive on this eastern side. Here we can see some of that orchid. That was an orchid we used to be able to watch in flower in days of our drives 4 years ago and beyond. Most of that orchid has dried off and died for whatever reason, and there's a lot of grass growing in it from this side, but that grass is mostly dead. We'll look at it another time coming the other way. It's hard to spin the camera around the mast behind us. The wires. Some things the really strangest thing, like this very fine rain happening on my feet, and I'm wondering if my water bottle's leaking, or is it something else that's very strange. Sorry. Poikilo. Sorry, let's go through that again. I'm so distracted sometimes. Poikilo. I think, is that one of the air plants, what we might call an air plant? Go for months without water. Gets moisture from the air. I don't think we get them here, but I'm going to have to look at that. I'm going to have to get onto the computer and look at that a little bit later. The resurrection plant. Poikilo refers to regulating something is. So something is not right here, folks. It's water. It's warm water that is splashing on my feet, and I'm wondering where it's coming from, but I've got to find out because this is most unusual. There shouldn't even be anything here that's got water. I give up. Most puzzling thing. This fine spray of water, warm water on my feet. Where were we? What were we talking about? Hello, Shrike. Magpie Shrike. Looking a bit bedraggled, child. Uh-oh. Goodbye. Started again. Morning, Hal, in South Dakota, wanting to know if lion huddle together in cold weather for warmth. Yes, they do, Hal. They curl up very close to each other. This is very troubling, only because it's inexplicable. There's an interesting one, Natalie in Florida. Morning, Natalie. If one of the lionesses if the lioness is in estrus, how do the two matimba males determine which one mates with her? Good question. That's a good question. I think generally speaking, when you have a coalition, you still have a hierarchy. They might be brothers and they might be together the way they are, but one will still be dominant over the other, and he will enforce that dominance. But it is also possible, and I've seen it with other coalitions of two, where because the cycle lasts a lot longer, where the one male maybe after a few days tires out, then other male takes over and also mates. Morning, Sandy in Ohio. Suddenly found leopard track. Wanting to know if Karula would chase her sons out of the territory now that they're more than 2 years old. Not necessarily, Sandy. It's also not so much Karula that'll chase them out. It's more Mvula that might not tolerate them any longer. Other leopards. But yes, they will need to seek their own territories. They'll be driven to find their own territory, and consequently, there's a tortoise just up ahead. Thank you for finding that, but it's not a leopard tortoise. Hello, tortoise. Good weather for tortoises today. There's the hingeback tortoise. Discretion, the better part of valor. Thank you, tortoise. See you later. Is your truck? Doesn't look like such a clear leopard track earlier now. Somebody was here. I'm not seeing this leopard's tracks all of a sudden. Go a little bit further. Morning, Gail. Do all animals know which sounds are alarm calls? Yes, I think that's a universal thing, Gail. Alarm calls are alarm calls, and everything gets to know the sound of alarm calls. I'm just going to talk on the radio. Excuse me a sec. Andrew, come in. Morning, where did you get with that Ingwen Konzo? Okay, I've got, must be the same one on Zoe's Road heading north. Where was I? This is a big leopard. I wonder if it's Mvula. If it is, he's moved a long way since yesterday. The problem is that it's quite old. A couple of hours at least. Canada, Vancouver. Blair wants to know if we have ospreys. We do. We have occasionally had ospreys. In fact, there's a photograph. My neighbours up in the Timbavati, there was in the riverbed there an osprey catching fish. Ospreys have come through. They're not resident. They will be vagrants, or they're not even migrants. They're just vagrants. Leopard went. Might have gone through to. We'll have to go up to Sandy Patch. Come around. Land Rover's in my dribbling water on my feet. Mary wants to know if I've ever hit a tree while looking for tracks or looking at an animal. I think I've reversed into a few trees, Mary. I think so. I think there's been the odd occasion that I've sort of gone off to the side like this and hit a tree stump that I haven't seen. Possible. Impossible not to, I suppose. We're gonna. This is part of the dog quest, by the way, as well as looking at this leopard track. But I don't know where he's gone. Just have a look around here quickly. Car coming. Hey, Ops, nothing there. En net maar dat nou kon ze. Have a fun morning. Okay, well, so much for my plan of seeing what was up in the northwest part of the world. 2 vehicles have come from there, Texan and Aubrey. They're all going back to camp already. Can't be that late in the morning, surely. Okay, well, I'll just go this way then, where nobody's been. Kudu. Kudu cow. So far, only one. Standing under a marula tree and I'm seeing some of those marulas falling. She's probably eating some marulas. It's hard to get to see her though. It's thick. There she is. Can't see her mouth, but Bye-bye, Kudu. Sorry, I'm just looking at something quickly. Hello, Dave in Toronto. Dave's seen lion with manes covering their chests. So these different lion, different species. Dave, I'd have to know where those lion have been, where you did see them. I mean, the Kalahari lions have heavier manes. The lion from different parts of Africa have different genetics, and their manes have developed according to different conditions. You'll find in different parts of the world, or rather different parts of Africa, lion will have different manes. Although they're all one species of lion, depending on the proximity to the equator and the altitude that they live in and the temperatures that... Oh, strangled by a golden orb thread. And where did she go? She landed somewhere in the car. There she is on that inverter, and she's back. Sorry, I just found a resurrection plant in my book. I don't know if it's the same resurrection plant that you were talking about. Try and... Or maybe I'll just leave it. I think she'll be fine there. We'll have to maybe put her on a tree later. Didn't see it. Nobody's driven here for a while, no doubt. So the golden orb wave was across the road. Just quickly, Dave, I'll get back to that in a sec. This here, this is called Myrothamnus flabellifolia. I've never seen it before, but I believe this is called a resurrection plant. Shallow soil over sheets of rock, mainly in the Pretoria, Magaliesburg region, and Suikerbos, which is all high veld. It's not down here. That's all up near Johannesburg and Pretoria, in the cities, where there is different climate altogether. So that's what we have as a resurrection plant. Thanks to Chris, who sent me something. I happened to look at the time and saw there was a message on my phone. And I'll look further into it, see which different species in North America that's called the resurrection plant. So Dave, you'll find that the lions of the Kalahari have much bigger manes than, say, the lions here in Kruger, and then you'll find that male lions up in the Selous Game Reserve in southern Tanzania, they barely have a mane at all. And then not far from Selous you have Ruaha National Park, different climate there, where the males have fairly big manes. So it depends on where those lions were seen and where they came from. That would determine how big the mane gets and whether it covers the chest. And that also something that only after years of well, just being a big male. It's an age thing. Being an old male, hair gets longer and denser. Strange how those dogs disappeared. I'm guessing that they must have all run across onto Buffelshoek. Nancy and Nevada. Oh, Nancy. Yes. Ouch. Nancy, hello Nancy in Nevada. I was barefoot in the Californian desert, not the Nevada desert. Nancy saying she notices I don't wear shoes. No, I can't even remember the last time I put shoes on, Nancy. In fact, just the other day when I was in town, I didn't even bother to put my sandals on. Except when I went into the optician. I thought, since it's a pretty optician and she's got a pretty receptionist, I better at least wear shoes for the optician. Hopefully getting my new specs soon, by the way, because these are getting so scratchy. I can't believe the price of spectacles these days. Just so you can see properly. Nancy wants to know if I've ever stepped on anything, hurt myself. Oh yes. Oh yes. Most painful, of course, is the scorpion. That was many, many years ago. Sometimes what can be really, really painful are those big white thorns or big spines. There is an elephant here that's track is this big. It's drizzling again. Uh-oh. Here it comes, and we're far away. Warren. I've stepped on many thorns. I stub my toe all the time. Closing up my jersey. Sadly, these elephants were here a few hours ago. There might be still one or two hanging around. We're lucky. I try and be careful about where I put my feet, and of course now being the end of summer, getting a little bit dry, it's not easy to walk off-road depending on where it is. I mean, here the grasses will be fine. This is a different area. These are short grasses. Out on quarantine there are so many plants that have thorns. There's paper thorn, devil's thorn, tribulus thorns. I wouldn't be able to take 2 steps without standing on a thorn. Whereas a couple of months ago, when it all started growing, it was the softest carpet to walk on. Now I wouldn't be able to walk on it at all. The weather has changed things a little bit. Laurie, morning Laurie, interesting question. Have I ever seen any cases of albinism? No, I haven't. I can't say. I've seen leucism, but not albinism. I've never seen an albino animal in the wild. Not that I can think of. I don't recall having seen anything albino. Leucism is not quite albinism. Leucism is kind of the opposite of melanism, where there is a predominant melanism, a predominance of dark pigment. Leucism, complete lack of dark pigment, where animals appear white, but they still have normal coloured eyes, normal coloured other parts, where colour would be, as opposed to albinism, which is, I suppose, albinism is complete lack of pigment. whereas leucism is a recessive gene that results in white coat, but still normal colored eyes, normal colored ears, other parts. Nobody been here. Getting dark again in the south, so I think we're going to get some more rain. And with this weather, of course, it's a few animals hidden. Doesn't seem to be too much activity around this morning. Morning, Chris. South Australia. Well, it's afternoon to you, Chris, I'm guessing. It's about afternoon by now. South Australia, where are we? 8, 6, 14. Yeah, it's got to be afternoon. Perth is what, 6 hours? South Australia would be what, Melbourne? Anyways, hello, Chris. We do get carmines. We occasionally have seen carmines, not as common as maybe a little bit more. Timbavati, I seem to have more carmine bee-eaters, beautiful bee-eaters, by the way, folks, those of you who don't know. Carmine bee-eaters, probably one of the... Whoa, this is heavy rain now. Well, just like that, just switched off all of the sardines. And I think we're going to have to put the big cover on. Or maybe just... I suppose it's fine here. Maybe put this over. What do we need to put it over? My legs. Gosh, this is heavy. It suddenly came down. Big droplets. We've caught carmines on camera a couple of times, Chris, but not as often as we want. Creeper that's wrapping itself around some grass is a type of morning glory. Hopefully you can see that. Not easy to move that camera around with the plastic cover on. There you go, Linda, and ladies. A little fluff for you. It's very similar. It's also known as the wild petunia. But not quite. It's more the Marimia rather than Epimoya. But this one doesn't have... Still got the heart-shaped leaf, although the leaves are curled up. Morning, Kay. Do we have salt licks or mineral licks here at Djuma? No, we don't. This is a natural environment. We don't put Only in place animals are fenced in closed environments where it's maybe important to put out salt licks or mineral licks at times. But because of the Kruger National Park, it's not really a wise thing to do. But you're liable to get animals too used to, but it's an artificial thing. With the game reserve, it's just kind of wrong in a way. I suppose during times of severe drought might be a different story, but maybe in the past when Djuma was self-contained or part of it was its own game reserve, it was different. But being part of the greater Kruger doesn't happen anymore. I'm wondering, where should we go from here? Down Rebecca's perhaps. We'll follow up on that leopard again. Just see a little bit more about this leopard tracks now that we're back to this junction. Hello, Amy. She wants to know if you know what happened to that baboon with the lion last night. Yes, dear. Well, what was happening, for those of you who weren't with us, as it was getting dark, one lioness moved up from the water. There were two baboon in the old camera tree where the camera used to be many years ago. One baboon actually managed to jump into a small marula and then jump away, and she sort of half-heartedly ran after it and ended up tripping another baboon in the tree, and we watched it for a little while. But then at that moment the big male was coming towards us, so we turned around and we were filming the big male walking towards us with our back to that little bit of action. And then when we finished the drive, the baboon wasn't in the tree anymore and the lioness was back, and Andrew says that he had noticed her walking back to the rest of the group while we were filming the big male. So what must have happened is that she must have got bored with it, and the little baboon wasn't so small, as a child. The baboon must have jumped out of the tree and ran along and joined the rest of the troop. Here's another of these morning glory types. Well, here's a more type of morning glory. Fortunately bent the other way, but another little yellow wild petunia type flower, Ipamoya. The leaves are not flower, by the way. It's a little creeper, and it's using that little combrita, large-footed bush willow, using that to climb up. Okay, let's go further. This time I want to go all the way north. Morning, Genevieve. Genevieve in New York, wanting to know about aquatic plant life. What aquatic plant life do we have, and if so, could we look at some next time we go past the water? Morning. This is very heavy. I'm going to have to say that, I don't know, is it the Yes, 6.5 dozen of the other, whether we shoot home to the carport or we shoot quarantine. Cover on quarantine. Funny how suddenly all of it suddenly opened up like this. Problem is, with everything getting really wet now, it would probably be wiser to switch things off. I don't know. Try and get there as quick as we can. Test it one under the cover. Okay, so I'm 2 for 2 right now. Thank you, Bernard. Actually, it's slowing down. Murphy's Law. Just stop when we get stop. It was going to come down in buckets for minutes. As I was saying, 2 for 2. Full moon there was rain, now it's new moon there's rain. I'm going to wait 2 weeks time to see what happens in 2 weeks time, what we're going to have in between. Blizzards and rain. Maybe it's just that I wore my rain jacket. So it's almost done. There's more coming. I think the lion could maybe just think that they could come up here and sit with us on the open area, or frolic, or do something, give us something to watch. And back under cover. has almost stopped, but I need to assess how wet things are. My books, I managed to sleep. And maybe the wipe the rim with this. You can use that for the glass. So here we are, undercover once again. What are we going to... It's raining. Hello, Jenny in Virginia. Are there cats here at Djuma? There are. Yeah. In fact, we've only really been so here on quarantine. But especially now with the grass, as they are very difficult to see. Tara and I saw a serval once, we barely got it. I don't think we caught it on camera because it ran away. Hi everybody, welcome to a wet Djuma Game Reserve this morning. Weather, it is weather. That calming there. That's not the bird, not the animal. Sounds like squirrels. Blair? No, we haven't. I want to know if we've ever had a snake falling into a vehicle when we were roading. No, not that I know of. I don't recall a snake. We just had a spider falling in. Big spider. Where she is? Here she is. See, she doesn't sit on my hands. I've got to put her on a tree where she can spin. So for the time being, she's just going to have to stay here. There's your silk there. I don't normally handle them, but because she is here, and I'm gonna have a permanent web that they constantly they'll repair if need be. But now, sadly, since I broke it inadvertently, she's to start from scratch, and judging by the size of her abdomen, she doesn't really have much of a protein storage, but it'll be enough. What she'll do is from there she'll drop down to the ground, she'll secure a main strand onto the ground and create a triangle from the web, and see it when it comes back here. It's not going to be able to go far from here. And she might even be more productive for her here than has been in her last web. Should we go down maybe? There isn't really much, and the weather's been playing havoc in case we have to rush back. Let's go and find the cats and spend some the mating couple, see if we can observe some of those things we've been talking about. Slippery, they'd hunt giraffe, and well, it would make it a lot easier to bring them down when it was muddy and slippery. There's the bergs, that pale Wahlbergs, that pale male, our pale male, our male. Route in the road. Hello. You're all puffed up. There I can see lion in the road up ahead. They moved a little bit. Our puffy friend. So Jenny, yeah, for some lion, in some cases, the rain does help them. I suppose depending on the strength of the rain, it can, I guess, wet grasses, wet animals. Makes a difference to this and the smell of everything, and you talk sometimes. Okay. They're coming to get us. There's the big timber. Oh, that looks like would be the mating couple there. Hello, lions. Wow. Well, Janet was asking about season. Usually you could call it from September to April, only fall in November or December. Things are all different now. In fact, there's no such a pattern anymore. The weather sometimes happens, and it sometimes does. Certainly a change in the way things work. No lot. A pattern that lasts for several years, where they can become predictable. What we can say is that our wet season is our summer months. Is our summer. Bad grammar there. when the rains actually come, the story, if they do, been really poor rainfalls. Although we've had heavy rains and they've been sufficient, the dams, we've seemed to have most of our rain, the annual rainfall, just 1 or 2 or 3 showers as a small overspread, longer period of time. Move to an entirely different area tonight. However, if they are successful, they could quite easily still be here tomorrow. But the idea is to spend as much time as we can. These are very, very hot very quickly. The big male and this female, she's going to get up now even. No, she doesn't have to move far. She's going to get up and move with her, even if she's only moving 5 feet. into the shade of the guarri bush. And let her go. Old snake skin. I'll have a look at it shortly. And so yes, if there was only one male, he would mate with more. He would mate with the other females. If any of the other females were in estrus, I guess the brother would then take over also. But I guess he might also. Thing is that over time he will mate with all the females within the pride when they're in estrus, not just the one. It is. Even if they don't come in, others do come into estrus, they will be covered by the males. I'm not too sure how you mean there, Lynn, but and get this off its side. And these are these two males are the males of inside these. Very Hi, so I've been trying to do a final count. We think that it's 8 with the 2 Matimbas. But it's hard. Right now we can't, I can only see 4, 5, see 7 right now. Plus our young male is, so that makes 8. Other than that, I can't see them all together until are they moving and they're in a long line or they're sleeping together. The problem is that up until now they've been in that thick quarry, or now they're also spread out like this, and I really can get past. So I'm going to try and make my way around the quarry bush.
I can see 8 sitting right here.
There's 4 down there.
5 down there.
There's 5 down there.
Yeah.
And these 3, and there's the young male that's just a little bit further, makes 9, and then the other Matimba will make 10. I don't know where the other Matimba is. I think it's pretty well established that there are only 8 of the Nkuhumas left still. And that was probably most likely, highly likely, one of them that was eaten, that was taken. Once again, we've got flat cats, and I thought maybe if it was going to be a little bit rainy that we might see something. But they're flat, and it's getting hot. And there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 9. Seen all these cats. Head down Twin Dams Road for a bit. Third female, I'd say that the cat that was killed was one of the smaller cubs. Because they're two of the young ones, three of them medium, three females. And the young male. A pretty lady, this one of the adults. Seems like we're getting a technical difficulty again. By the sounds of things, that may be into as well as it should. piglet running in the road. Maybe it's time to visit another family of piglets that don't run away. They've been wallowing here in the mud. This normally a lovely little pond is now just turned to black. I suppose people pay a lot of money for this kind of mud. I suppose without all the buffalo dung and bilharzia and other parasites. Good for a facial. Mud pack. If it's good enough for buffalo, it's good enough for me. No, not really. I don't think I'll be having a mud pack in a hurry. Clouds boiling. I think it's not over today. Maybe the drizzle is over, but I think there must be some other rain showers coming. There's quite a big mushroom developing in this cloud. I guess our quest for the dogs has come to an end because there has been no sign of them, and until we pick up tracks we can't get too excited anymore. We sadly missed them yesterday, and
hyena turning it.
Oh, must be because the hyena tracks in the road. There's hyena on the road.
Yeah.
We are close to the den. A bit far in though. Barely see. I just see the ears. Maybe more. And maybe tonight fasting after. It depends what the lion are doing. If the lion active for as long as we can. We can find them. Wishing our luck with them because they're likely to be moving on soon unless they kill something today. The southern limit is. I head back north. East, but we will see. Only way to find out is to go back to them this evening, which we're going to do. For now though, it is time to call it today. And thank you for joining us. Thanks for your input this morning, your patience with the rain and everything. My name is